Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be ranking all of the Monsterverse movies. This is all of the movies from 2014's Godzilla to the recent Godzilla x Kong movie, the New Empire that just came out. I finally got around to watching all of them because I did my little rewatch series for them. And I am very excited to rank these. I think that my opinions here might be controversial. I'm not entirely sure because I've seen a lot of people with a lot of varying opinions. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this ranking. And as per usual, I want to go ahead and say this is my ranking. This is how I feel about these movies specifically. You guys might have different opinions, and that is a-okay. If you guys have a different list and you want to drop it down below in the comments, I love having conversations about this stuff. But that being said, let's dive into this. Alrighty, and coming in 5th place, we have Godzilla, King of Monsters. I think that this movie is incredibly underwhelming. I think that overall, it does a really bad job of showcasing a lot of these sequences that people go to see these movies for. I feel like there's a lot of Godzilla moments that are kind of weird with the scaling. We're seeing him through a window and he just like doesn't look as huge as he does when he's outside of the buildings. And on top of that, a lot of the other fights that we see with a lot of the creatures in this movie are incredibly underwhelming. They're all in the dark, it's all rainy, it's very hard to understand and see what is going on. And then I feel like for the most part, the human characters in this were not that interesting and we had way too much of them. I feel like the story gets very convoluted very fast. There's a lot of family drama and stuff that's going on, and for the most part, a lot of the characters in this movie don't really add much to the story. It just kind of feels very, like I said, over convoluted. There's way too much going on, and we're here to see a bunch of fun kaiju stuff, and I feel like the majority of the movie, you are really having to have a lot of patience and wait through all of the human stuff that has way too much drama, way too much stuff that we don't care about, and the overall sequences with the kaiju monsters don't really give you this such an awe-inspiring moment. It doesn't give you the big moments that you're looking for where you're like genuinely like, oh my god, that is incredible. And I think that out of all of these movies, it just has very forgettable sequences. And I feel like the only moment that really shines through in this movie is the sequence where the main guy, who is the leader of Monarch for the longest time, passes away and he kind of sacrifices himself for Godzilla and he gets to say goodbye to Godzilla and he says it in Japanese. Very heartfelt moment there, but other than that, this movie was a really rough time to get through. And now coming in 4th place, we have the newest on the list. We got Godzilla, Kong, A New Empire. I think that this movie is just incredibly underwhelming. I feel like in comparison to Godzilla versus Kong, a lot of the action sequences here are very lame. They feel way too cartoonish. And I feel like for some people, this works, right? It's a really silly Godzilla movie, and I know a lot of people who grew up watching Godzilla movies have seen all of them, from the very serious ones to some of the really silly ones where he's fighting little robot dudes and stuff like that. And I understand that a lot of people enjoy it when Godzilla gets to be a very campy movie, but for me, this just felt so tonally different from some of the other movies we've been seeing. They've been doing a really good job of showcasing a lot of the humans experiencing some of these fun moments like in the Godzilla movie, and I feel like this one just does not do such a good job with it. I feel like there are a lot of moments here where we're just watching these kaiju monsters for a solid like 30-45 minutes and they don't have that compelling of a story. Like we kind of see King Kong go through this kind of like father figure type moment like we see in like The Mandalorian, we see in The Last of Us, we see in all these different movies where it's just like, here's this adult bringing this kid along for the ride and trying to train this kid to be a better version of themselves. And it's like, it's interesting, but at the same time, they weren't bold enough to go for a full kaiju movie. They still felt the need to include the human characters, and a lot of the human character stuff here feels like it's a totally different movie. They have very different tones. They have a couple of moments that are very heartfelt, and you actually have a good emotion stuff going on, but I feel like for the most part, the scaling on this movie was very weird. A lot of the fight sequences did not live up to the fight sequences of Godzilla versus Kong, and then on the other side of that, some of the CGI for me just did not work as well. I feel like there are moments where King Kong looks really weird and childish, and then there are other moments where it's just way too goofy for me. And like, I see where they were going for, and I see the vision that they had, and I understand why a lot of people online are like, oh my god, this is great, this is fantastic. But for me, I feel like it doesn't do a good job showcasing the kaiju beings actually being these gigantic creatures. The scaling to me feels very off, the gravity stuff feels a little wonky, and overall, I just did not like this story that much. Now, coming in 3rd place, this movie is actually incredibly fun, and I do really enjoy this movie. We got 2014's Godzilla. I think that Aaron Taylor Johnson is a very interesting protagonist for this movie, and I think that for the most part, I really like a lot of the human stuff that they do here. And one thing that I really enjoy about this movie that they kind of lose in some of the newer ones is we really get a sense of like how the people on the ground level are feeling during these events. We're getting to see Godzilla from the point of view of people who are pretty much defenseless against anything that he's going to do, and it does a really good job showcasing how he is truly terrorizing a city and how a bunch of people are being destroyed. And I really like how this movie does a good job of showcasing how the American government is kind of freaking out, not really sure what to do about it, and they're instantly like, okay, Godzilla's a threat, we got to take Godzilla down, and they are willing to do some really crazy things to try to destroy Godzilla and these other creatures that are showing up. And I think that they do a really good job of showcasing Godzilla in this one as well. I think that the sound design is incredible. There's a lot of really cool like click, 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 clicking noises and stuff like that with some of the weird crawly creatures. I can't remember the names of them right now, but the ones that are like the giant spiders, they're really, really cool. And I think that the overall concept of Godzilla being there to kind of defend the world from these other titans is really interesting. And they do a really good job of showcasing just, like I said, the scale of these things, because whenever we get the sequences with Godzilla in San Francisco and we're seeing him against like the Golden Gate Bridge and he shows up and like there's this huge thing that pokes out of the water and you're like, oh my god, he's huge, and then you see, oh my god, that's just his tail, and then we see the rest of him and he's even bigger. Really, really cool stuff. Like I said, sound design's great, CGI is incredible. I think that Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character is interesting. I think that this movie could have been a little bit better if they focused a little bit more on crap, I'm blanking on his name right now. Bryan Cranston's character. I feel like somebody who was really like insane and knew about some of the Godzilla stuff was really, really cool and really fascinating. And I really wish we got to spend more time with him, because he clearly had a better scope of what's going on and he understood that they're hiding things from the world and titans are real. And he, in my opinion, is one of the coolest human characters we've gotten in the entire franchise. And I really wish we got stuck with him a little bit more. But overall, this movie is incredibly fun and I really like everything that it sets up for this universe. Alrighty, now our runner-up coming in second place, we got Godzilla vs. Kong. I feel like this movie is incredible. I love the fact that they have this really cool concept for it. And the fact that this movie does a really good job of shining a light on on Kong, and basically making him the main character in this. It is a whole lot of fun. I love the opening sequence where we're just kind of watching him go through his little morning routine, and he's doing stuff like brushing his teeth and taking a shower, and it just makes him feel so human. And I really like how they kind of basically make him like the hero of humanity and stuff like that. His whole role is to kind of like save and protect the people that he can. And all of the stuff with him having to go to Hollow Earth and the way that they introduce Hollow Earth is really interesting. And then the way that they set up the Mecha Godzilla and they keep that stuff going on in the background is really cool. Brian Tyree Henry's character being introduced in this movie is fantastic. He's an absolute delight in this. And I love the idea of a crazy podcast person who's actually right, but nobody believing him because he's just some guy on a podcast. That's a fun character archetype, and I like the fact that they introduce him in this. And overall, I just really, really love the story. And I think that because this movie does a good job of kind of like separating the Titans long enough that whenever they have a fight, it feels like a big event, it's significantly better than this new one that we just got with Godzilla, Kong, A New Empire. Because in my opinion, the helicarrier fight when we first see Godzilla versus Kong and they're fighting in the middle of the ocean and Kong is at such a big disadvantage, but they're fighting together and then the humans are doing whatever they can to try to help Kong out. Very interesting fight sequence. I think it's very memorable. All of the planes trying to take off that are getting destroyed feels very like, oh my god, people are actually losing their lives. And you could actually kind of feel the tension of everything that's going on in this battle. You have human characters on board that you care about from, their relationship with Kong and stuff like that. And I feel like this movie has some of the best emotional sequences, some of the best fight sequences, and overall, it does a really good job of having a through line that you actually care about. You care about these characters for the most part. You care about the Mecha Godzilla stuff that's going on with that. And then when we get to see all three of the subplots kind of come together with Kong, with Godzilla, fighting Mecha Godzilla, epic moment. Really, really love it. And I think that it is this universe at its peak. But with all that being said, the true number one is going to be Kong Skull Island, the 2019? Was it 2019? It might have been 2017. This film is absolutely fantastic, and I absolutely love every decision that they try to make with this movie. For one, I think the fact that Skull Island is a very secluded place, and it feels like some place that is completely untouched by the world, is incredible. The plot with the Japanese soldier and the American soldier who kind of like put their differences aside to kind of save themselves and try to protect themselves and try to live on Skull Island while it seems relatively inhabitable is really, really cool. I love the stuff that they do with that. And overall, I think that Tom Hiddleston's character is a badass. He's fantastic. Brie Larson's character is very interesting. I think that their chemistry and their romance works really well with this movie. And it does a really good job of getting us endeared to the human characters in a way that we haven't been in some of these other movies. Like I said, Bryan Cranston's character in the Godzilla movie is one of the few characters who I am super interested in. But on top of that, I think that a lot of the characters in this Kong Skull Island movie, I also have that same feeling towards. Like, for the most part, John C. Reilly's character is fantastic. The fact that he's somebody who's felt alone for so long and he hasn't really communicated with other people, and he's felt like, at this point, Kong Skull Island, like, this Skull Island is all that he's ever going to know anymore. And there's a lot of weird shit going on the island. He thinks that he's going insane. And they play it off so well that it's like, there's a fine line between, is this offensive? Is this a good joke? And they perfectly kind of walk that line of him going insane and it seeming completely natural. And I want to say that that character is fantastic, and I absolutely love everything that they do with it. And on top of that, a lot of the creatures in here are absolutely terrifying. I feel like we see some of our best sequences with like people fighting the gigantic spiders and stuff like that. And the first sequence with Kong destroying all the helicopters is one of the most epic sequences I have ever seen in any movie, give or take, and I absolutely love it. I think that that sequence it's still to this day be my favorite moment that we've seen in any of these Monsterverse movies, and it's just so beautiful. And on top of that, I feel like this movie also has one of the most memorable villains in Samuel L. Jackson's character, who really just wants to destroy everything on the island, and he really wants to kill Kong, and them realizing, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. And it's really fun. I think that a lot of the human action works as well, because that's something else that I like about this movie, is the humans actually feel like they're helping out, as opposed to some of the other ones where the humans are just kind of there. And like I said, Tom Hiddleston's a total badass in this, and then we see Kong being a total badass in this, and I just absolutely love it. There's one specific move where he like throws a giant chain from a helicopter or whatever at the creature and pulls him back, and I'm like, okay, Kong is just a total badass. But yeah, overall, love that movie. Thought it was fantastic. I think that a lot of these movies have been a blast. I've just been a little disappointed by the couple of recent ones. But that being said, I said a couple of the recent ones. I meant number 4 and number 5. I wasn't a big fan of those two, but the other ones have been okay, and I think that hopefully any future projects I enjoy a little bit more than this most recent one. But that being said, that was going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow.
Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.